Good afternoon. This is Robert Pomerantz, the Ayer Town Manager. This is the Rate Review Committee meeting for the Town of Ayer for Tuesday, September 29th, 2020 at 4 p.m. It's an open session remote participation meeting. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Baker issued an emergency order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Public bodies otherwise governed by the open meeting law are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be broadcast live on Channel 8 and on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by following the call-in information on the bottom of the live broadcast screen. For the Zoom meeting information relating to remote participation, please contact Cindy Knox, IT Director at cknox@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8252. And for the public's benefit, I'll identify the members of the Rate Review Committee. Our Chairman, Janice Livingston.
Hello.
Lisa Gabri, the Town Accountant Finance Manager.
Hello.
Mark Wetzel, the Superintendent of Public Works. Mr. Mark Smith, the representative from the Finance Committee. Resident, Mr. Rich Scotchless. And Miss Pam Martin, the DPW Business Manager. And as I mentioned myself, Robert Pomerantz, the Ayer Town Manager. So the committee is all in attendance. The first item which was sent to the members were the draft minutes from the last time we met, which was on February 18th of 2020. And you should have the draft minutes. I don't know if folks had a chance to review them, if there's any edits or changes.
I reviewed them and I saw no issues with them.
Okay.
I'm down as absent and in attendance.
Oh,
That way
Who knows
sometimes,
that?
but
we will fix that, Pam. Apologies.
that's fine.
Any other amendments to the minutes? Well, then I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as amended tonight.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Janice Livingston and seconded by Rich Scotchless.
So we'll take a roll call vote. The chair says aye. Mark?
Aye.
And the second Mark?
Sorry.
Rich?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody else? Pam?
Aye.
Aye. And who else? And Lisa?
Aye.
Okay. And did I miss anybody? Doesn't look like it.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. I can barely see you on my screen. All right. And the motion passes. The meeting minutes have been approved as amended today. Robert, before you get on to something else, I'd like to say something. I know that we've all gotten the word. Mary Spinner has resigned. And I just want to take this moment to thank her profusely for the work that she has done for the town of Ayer for all these years. She has been the most meticulous note taker. She has kept us all on track over the various boards and committees that she has served on. And it was without a doubt because of her, things didn't get lost. I can remember numerous times when she'd be like, hey, does everybody remember this? And we'd be like, oh, and we'd get it back to the forefront. And I just want to, again, thank her profusely for everything that she has done for the town of Ayer.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we will move on with the discussion and review of the transfer station solid waste rates for calendar year 2021.
Madam Chair, through you, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Wetzel that has a couple of slides that he's going to share, and we'll start the initial discussion about the solid waste rates for the calendar year.
Okay.
So can you see the memo on the screen?
Yes.
Right, so I have a rate model that I plug in all of the updated numbers every year, and it does a number of different scenarios of if we raise bags this much, if we raise permits this much, and looking at different combinations of everything and come up with some different numbers. One thing I will mention is I had Dan went through it and checked my formulas in the spreadsheet to make sure I had everything multiplying outright, but the town accountant Lisa has not reviewed it yet. So there may be some numbers that we need to adjust a little bit. But the first thing I need to come up with is how much revenue do we need to generate based on our fees and our bag fees and our permits. And based on the town meeting article for FY21, our budget, which was really only half of the calendar year, is about 580,000. We have about 212,000 from the tax levy. We're using 35,000 from retained earnings. So to meet that budget, we needed approximately $331,300. I did a real quick projection of what my budget would be next year, assuming the 2% wage increase, which is in the contract, and a 5% increase on the solid waste disposal and recycling, but using the same tax levy and retained earnings. And it came out, and I split it in half, so it would be half of this 331 and half of next year's budget. So it came out to about, for the calendar year, about 340,000 is what we would need from revenue. One thing I should point out also, some issues to consider. We have a lease agreement for the solar up at the landfill, and based on this year's numbers, we're going to get about $22,800 from for rent on the landfill. Last year, we changed the senior age from 60 to 65, and that had a pretty significant impact on our regular permit revenue. Because I don't have the numbers somewhere. I have it right here comparatively, but we did sell a lot more regular stickers than senior stickers this year. I have all that in a spreadsheet, which I can present. And then, as I said, I increased our waste and recycling contracts are up in this June. We're looking at some different options, and hopefully we'll be able to bid that with the consortium of a couple other neighboring towns and get some savings by volume. But I assumed an increase of 5%. So based on the different scenarios that I plugged in, if we keep our rates, and I down here for the revenue needed, I put that based on what was up at the top here rather than the 340,000. So that's something we can discuss what we want to use, and that's something that Lisa can have input on. But just with our current rates, and based on our trends that we've seen for bag sales and permits, we'll generate about 330,000. If we increase each of the permits, the regular, the senior, and the second permit by $5 each, we generate another 300, it'd be 337,000. One thing I did look at that I don't have up there is if we just increased the resident only and left the second permit and the senior permit, it would be about just under 335,000. So you can see the different numbers with all these different scenarios. And so that's what I came up with. I don't have a recommendation. I thought we should have some discussion and see what people thought.
So I have a question. So based on what you're saying right now, looking at this memo, if we just kept the current rates, no changes, nothing, then we would have a shortfall of about $1,000?
Based on this year's budget.
Right.
So,
Because we did major changes last year.
right.
We raised the permit prices, we raised the age. I think, did we raise the bag prices last year too?
No.
No?
And the reason why I mentioned increasing just the regular permit, right now we're at $95 per permit, and so if you rounded it up to 100, left the seniors at 60 and the second at 30. Like I said, you get about another $4,000, it's about just under $5,000 additional revenue compared to what I show on the current rate.
Just from my opinion, we're pretty confident the expenses are gonna go up.
Right.
Because the contracts are gonna expire and they never go down. So I think Mark's pretty conservative with a 5% increase. And don't wanna start moving backwards. So I would recommend at least to have a permit increase for the regular permit. And the other changes, you're right, Janice, we had a lot of changes last year and it has improved the revenue a lot. So, I think that's like a minimal increase. I just remember the time that we had no increase in water rates and boom, PFAS came along. And that was millions of dollars, continues to be millions of dollars. And we didn't get cut short because they had a significant retained earnings that had been accumulating over the years. But this fund does not have a significant retained earnings. It operates very close to margin. So my recommendation would be at least the minimal increase, which would be the $5 increase on just the regular permits.
One of the other things too.
Didn't we raise the transfer station prices in 2018 also?
We
I don't know.
did, but I don't remember what they were. I think we raised the bag fees.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned. I'm very concerned about the fact that, once again, I understand everything everybody's saying, and I'm not saying I necessarily disagree, but I'm very concerned with the fact that this seems to be a systematic problem that we have. And I understand there's extenuating circumstances and everything, but I'm also concerned because, especially after the major change last year, and I know quite a few people were upset about it. I think we're pricing ourselves out of the market almost. And despite the fact that it was none of our fault, none of the residents' faults, there have been changes due to the COVID, as far as even being able to do some things at the transfer station, such as the swap shed. Now, we can argue back and forth as to whether or not that should be included in the conversation, but in the residents' mind, I think it is included in the conversation. So I'm just a little concerned that we're looking at a possible increase again. And if, we raised the prices last year, we basically got about 9 months worth of data right now. And those are my concerns. Those are my concerns about potentially raising rates again.
One of the other options that we could do is leave the permits where they are right now, and then May or early June, look at where we are revenue-wise and with new contracts and budget-wise, and at that point consider a bag fee increase.
Are you talking about holding off any increases until at least next year when we have more data?
I'm thinking you increase them July 1 of the fiscal year, we'll have better numbers then. And if you increase the And I know Pam doesn't like this with 50 cents.
A lot of quarters.
But you know, that 50-cent bag increase raises your revenue $7,000. So that's something we could reconsider at that point when we see where the numbers are. We may be at the point where we don't need to do anything. We may see that the recycling and trash rates aren't going up, or our revenue's increasing from selling more permits and bags. I know this year, and I didn't bring the numbers, but I know this year we sold more permits than we did last year, and because of the change in the senior, we sold a lot more at the higher rate.
Are you taking comments from attendees?
Through the chair, we will momentarily, if there's just anybody else from the committee that wants to say something first, and then
Okay.
then we'll come to you, Laurie. Okay?
Got it. Yep.
Mark Smith.
Mark, I have a question about how do we compete with the other vendors that come through town? I mean,
Well, all I did, let's see if I have that number here. I know I do somewhere. I looked at an average recommendation, average by cost of residence. So, current estimate with I had with a permit plus 70 medium-sized bags comes out to about $375 a year. If I call Waste Management, I think a year for them is about $550. I think there are some guys that might be under 500. I don't know what Republic's rate is, but generally, I think if you have private curbside, you're spending about $500 to $550 a year.
so going to the air transfer station is still advantageous to a certain group of people.
Yeah, and I think the other benefit is that you can get rid of a lot more stuff at the air transfer station. You can get rid of all your yard waste. We have a free metal pile. We have bulk stuff is much easier to get rid of. I don't know how Waste Management does it, but I know in my town we're at curbside. They'll take up certain things, but if I put a mattress out, I have to make special arrangements and pay extra for the mattress. So it's the same thing as, we charge, I think it's $10 for $10 or $15 for a mattress. But it doesn't have to, you don't have to put it out Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Saturday when you go to the transfer station, you can bring it up and get rid of it. So it's not an appointment only, and that's how it is in my town.
Yeah. So I agree with you, Mark, that we could wait until mid next year to make a final decision. But I also think it might be to the town's advantage to get some cost comparisons out to the people, because I'm not too sure that a lot of them really do it. They just look at it as, okay, it's convenient for me to push my stuff to the curb and have somebody else deal with it. I have several neighbors on the street that do it that way. I don't know what they do with their yard waste except they maybe dump it in the backyard. But maybe it's a getting the information out to some of the residents so that they can make a more informed, more cost-effective decision.
So I know in August of 2014, after numerous public hearings and everything, we did get that info out there. And what we found at the time, and I suspect it's still a little bit so, it is more of a cultural thing. And the closer you live to the transfer station, the more chance you're going to go to it versus if you're more on the outskirts of town. I don't disagree with, having another little even sheet, public information sheet to say, hey, this is how, for example, if you look at the permit, it breaks down to $7.91 a month. If you, depending on what bags you're using, that could run you anywhere depending on the bag price, an extra $10 a month, depending on what bag you're using. Then we have the composting, so you can do it that way. I do think it's more advantageous. If we want to get more info out there, how do we go about doing it? Because we have to be very careful too, as far as if we're just putting something out there, just, post it on Facebook. Hey, did you know that this is how much it would cost you if you use the transfer station versus these other places? Or if you wanted to have more public hearings again, but then you have to be very cautious as to how you're marketing it, because all of a sudden you'll have people thinking that we're going to try to close the transfer station, which, to be clear, we're not. So good idea, just have to figure out the best way to do it.
I'm not opposed to Mark's idea either about delaying it until we have more of a history. So, because it's difficult sometimes because you're setting rates for November or December on a calendar year basis, really. And yet the budget is on a fiscal year basis. So there's not enough months in this fiscal year to really determine. We haven't even hit when permits are basically sold for this fiscal year. Because they're sold on a calendar year basis, really. So it would be more helpful to have more history under us for this year.
Yeah, one of the other things that does factor into it also is with COVID and you have more people at home and generating more trash and buying more bags. I don't have really enough data to look at that, but I did see bag sales this year are a little bit higher than last year.
So, I'm sorry, did you say that bag prices are increasing again?
The bag sales, the number of bags that we sell.
Oh, that's increased.
Have gone up
Okay.
This summer, but it's a little hard to tell because, they give me a monthly tally, and so one month might be low and then the next month might be high. So it's a little hard to tell, but we are running ahead of last year through, I think I had through August data.
Well, then I guess that begs the question too. I think it is best to wait a few months before we make any type of final decision. Also, to get more data. But then that begs the question: do we need to fix when we're going to do any increases? I understand that the permits and everything are sold on a calendar year. I understand that, but do we need to align any fee increases differently? How we got to do this? So because we're constantly running into this problem where we're saying that we don't have quite the data because it's running on a calendar year and we're running on a fiscal year, but this has been going on for a few years, so we kind of should have the data by now.
Well, we do have a lot of data, Janice, but it changes. So, for instance, we changed the senior permit age, so now that trend is off, and the way the bag information gets submitted to me is a little bit different. So it's hard to really look at the trends, but if we do want to delay any increases, then the increase would have to be on the bag fee, not the permit, because we'll already have sold out permits.
So should any future talks of increases on anything, that brings up a good question. Should the permits be on the calendar year and the bag prices on the fiscal year? Would that help? I mean, that's something I think we need to discuss as far as how we're doing this, because it just it seems to be getting a little bit muddied now.
Well, it's really just another option, another way of considering doing it, where we would have more information in and potentially raise the bag prices. We have raised the bag prices off kilter from the stickers one other time. It's just a matter of getting the word out. I don't think there's anything wrong with having flexibility in the timing.
Did we want to open it up to questions from, I know Lori asked a question, if everybody's ready?
Rick. Go ahead, Rick.
I think it's only fair we really should know. I've noticed that myself that when I thought bags now people are using that bag, but I think that should also be taken into consideration.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what Rich said.
So I'll repeat. So Rich Scotchless of the committee said it's only fair to get more data, and it would be fair to wait so that we have all of the information.
I agree.
And I'd like to remind everyone, changing the prices in the bags isn't as automatic as changing to implement as if we change the vehicle sticker prices. There's a little bit of a process to change the bag prices with all the vendors. They needed some lead time, at least a month, I think it was. So we just need to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Madam Chair, everybody from the committee has at least weighed in on this topic. Through you, if you want to take comments from the public, they just identify themselves.
I think that's fine. I know Lori had a question.
Yeah, I do. And I also wanted to just note that my internet connection has been going in and out a little bit, and unfortunately I haven't heard every last word that everybody has said. So apologies ahead of time if I repeat something. I think that based on the list of different kinds of increases that Mark went over, I think the best thing to keep in mind is the bag increase, because that will, as small of an increase as it is, it might stick in people's minds that it's a disincentive to trash stuff. And the less trash we have and the more recycling we have, I know that economically that's not necessarily the best outcome these days, but for a lot of other reasons, less trash, more recycling is a win-win. So, and for other reasons, as Janice has pointed out, there have been a lot of other increases, and as a townsperson who luckily is now 65, I have the impact of those increases has been reduced, but I do think that the more increases there are in the use of the transfer station, the less apt people are going to be using the transfer station, and the more they're going to move over to some of the private haulers. I keep up on some of the Facebook pages where people are constantly complaining about this, that, and the other thing, and a lot of people find that the private haulers, while they are a little bit more expensive, I am seeing costs in the $400 range rather than the $500 range. Obviously, all of the haulers are going to have some kind of different factors that they use to determine prices, but I really think that we need to try to encourage more use of the transfer station than discourage it by raising the fees. And I know that every chance I get, I do try to encourage people to use the transfer station, but I don't know that we've done any kind of systematic or concerted planning to publicize the importance of use, or the values, I guess I would say, the value of using the transfer station over private haulers. So I think that would be a good thing to do as well. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Lori. I agree. And we talk about it all the time, and there have been small attempts to kind of try to publicize the benefits of using the transfer station a little bit more. And the concern is, and I state this again because I've seen it happen and I've had people contact me, is that the moment you say, hey, have you heard about the transfer station? Next thing you know, people have added on to, you know, oh, it's closing, and people start panicking while you're like, wow, I didn't even finish my sentence. So again, I think that we should get more info out there again as far as the benefits, and also be very careful that we make it clear that we're just trying to let more people know the benefits and to go use the transfer station, and that it's not a precursor to something ominous. The transfer station becomes a very touchy subject. So.
Very obviously so. Well, there's nothing else to complain about these days, right?
Oh, but no, I think that's a good idea. I'm all for it as far as, you know, we've got the info from a few years ago, and all we need to do really is update the numbers, and I think we'd be ready. And even putting it on Facebook, you know, with the title, The Benefits of Using the Transfer Station. And I think that could help. And there are people who don't even really know about it, you know, but you have transplants who might have come from a city, they come to a small town, they don't know what a transfer station is. They're used to somebody coming and pick up their trash. So it'd be kind of a retraining of a mindset.
Agreed.
All right, so I take it we're going to hold off on making any recommended changes for right now. Hello.
I agree.
Maybe, Madam Chair, a suggestion, maybe the rate review committee.
Robert, you're wicked breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to suggest perhaps the committee would entertain a motion not to recommend any increases and to reevaluate in the spring of 2021 or something to that effect, just so you can convey that to the select board as well and the public that formally we're going to wait until next year to reevaluate. Just a suggestion.
I think that's a good idea. Does anybody have any discussion on that?
Sounds good.
All right, then I will make a motion that the rate review committee hold off on any proposed changes until spring of 2021.
Second.
All those in favor? Mark Smith.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
Anybody? Mark.
Aye, and Rich says aye.
Okay, Rich says aye. Okay. Robert?
Robert Pomerantz, aye.
Lisa? Aye. All right. Motion's been made and passed.
There we are, back again.
Oh, goodness, that was weird. All right. Wait a minute. I lost my agenda. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. So next on the agenda was a water and sewer revenue update during COVID-19.
Madam Chair, again, I'll turn it over to the DPW superintendent for just a brief sort of snapshot update of the status of water and sewer revenues during COVID-19.
Right, so Pam pulled some information together from the from our water billing software, and we looked at April 1 through August 31st and compared 2019 to 2020. And we had a total of payments for 2019 of $2,449,164. And this year we had $2,443,615. So they're pretty close. What was interesting was we sold less, well, I shouldn't say sold, we had less water payments this year by about, what's that number? About $40,000, but our sewer revenue was up. What I think, and one of the factors in this is we raised our rates last year, so our revenues were about the same, but the rates were higher, so obviously the amount of water use was less. One thing I haven't looked at is what the big users, if they had any slowdowns in their use because of the, I know Nasoya had some plant shutdowns because of COVID. I don't think Pepsi did. I think Pepsi was pretty much on track, and I'm not sure if any of the other big users, obviously the restaurants weren't open and still aren't using that much water. So there is a little bit of an impact, and we'll have to analyze that when we look at the rates in the spring.
I did a similar review, but only from July 19 through today, and then the same period for last year. And I have a total water and sewer increase of about $26,000. So we're running on target, except for the rate increases that we know it should be more, but right. Less water usage, I'm sure there's a ban, there's a mandatory water ban.
I think the outside water ban, and we had it last year, I noticed looking at the trends for water use through 2019, the water use was down significantly from 2018 because of our outdoor water ban, and I think we're going to see the same decrease this year, probably even a little bit. I think people with the drought and the dry conditions, and we got the message out, I think they were a little more diligent this year. And hopefully we're having our new plant online any day now. I just got back the final PFAS results, so I think we can start pumping into the system. So hopefully we can not require an outdoor water ban next summer and get our revenues back up.
But at least they're on, at least it appears that people are paying, their bills. I don't know, Peter, what do you?
Yeah, I've noticed very little difference. I've been very surprised.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? All right. So next on the agenda is the initial discussion on proposed FY 2022 water and sewer rates.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things I've talked to Robert about is the potential for having a water and sewer superintendent, someone who's actually managing these two enterprise funds on a day-to-day basis instead of me trying to do it along with all the other, or I shouldn't say me, I mean the superintendent of public works. That position is, especially lately, it's gotten a little overwhelming, and so you can only juggle so many balls at a time. So, so I put a memo together for an initial discussion and to get some input on this, but basically the position would only be responsible for the water and sewer enterprise funds, their budgets, their capital plan, and the day-to-day operations and maintenance. So the responsibilities that I'm involved with right now, we have regulatory compliance, just doing our lead and copper analysis, and we have to do that twice a year. We send out 40 samples, we get those back, then I have to analyze all the results and see if I'm in compliance, and then I have 2 government forms I have to fill out, and then I have to send out a letter to every person who's involved in it, stating what their results are, and then I have to send a certification that I did the results. We also do what's called a consumer confidence report or water quality report that has sort of an annual recap of what our water quality is. So all these things are take a lot of time and effort, and we do, and as you see when you drive around town, we're doing capital planning. Right now we have a grow pond plant, finishing up the spec pond plant under construction. We do about $300,000 worth of water mains a year. And then at the wastewater plant, we have a number of projects going on. We develop operating budgets. I monitor those on a monthly basis, review staff assignments on a weekly basis. And then we have equipment and facility maintenance. We have to procure goods and services. And then the last one, emergency response, when we have leaks or other equipment failures, we have to deal with that. The water and sewer enterprise budgets combined are 70% of the DPW budget. So you can see it's a big part of the town operation. And as you may or may not know, my retirement from this position right now is planned for July of 2021. And so there's going to be probably a learning curve and more stress on the operations of the DPW in that transition period. So that's why I recommended to Robert that we consider this. One of the other factors that I think is important is we're really struggling to find the operators for water and wastewater. I advertised for a assistant water foreman position, and I got one response, and he declined the offer. We ended up doing some internal promotions, but we're still in the process of filling another position. So since mid-July, we've been short one person in water while we're in the process of trying to get a new plant online. Wastewater, we had our wastewater collection operator resign last March, coincided with the COVID shutdown, but we didn't have a lot of candidates, and so we're still in the process. I did do some additional advertising, and I have more applicants. None of them have licenses or wastewater experience, but we do have a fair number of potential candidates. But you can see it takes a long time. And what worries me is we have 3 current wastewater staff who are retiring within the next 3 years. And if we have to try to replace all of those, it may be pretty difficult to find them. So we want to look at the feasibility of a contract operation similar to what they do with Devon's, where they have a private company basically runs their wastewater division, but you do need to have someone in the DPW who's overseeing that operation to make sure that they're doing what the town's contract and expectations are. We also, as I mentioned, we have the PFAS treatment systems. We have one that's going to be going online fairly soon, and we have another one that is just starting. We'll be starting construction next month. And the DEP has additional monitoring, reporting, and operational requirements for those. That's going to take some staff time. We're also waiting for our new permit for the wastewater plant discharge. When I know there's going to be some additional requirements, but I haven't started negotiating that. One of the benefits of having this position in the water and sewer enterprise is that the position can be funded completely out of the water and sewer rate, so there's no impact on the town general budget payroll. And also, this person could be more focused on the specific water and sewer operation. So there's probably some operational efficiency savings that could be identified and implemented that we just don't have time to get to these days. So I just wanted to present the concept, and if Robert and the committee thinks that this is something we want to look at, I can do some additional development of a job description, looking at employee classification, pay scales, and then I can work with Lisa to see what the impacts on rates would be.
Well, I think it has some merit. I do think it has some merit. So, were you going to say something, Robert?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I was just going to say that I concur with you that it does have merit, and I was just going to say, for everybody's benefit, in terms of next steps, unless there's some fundamental opposition to moving this forward, as Mark mentioned, the next step would be to develop the formal job description and the pay range classification for the position, and this position would go through the normal FY22 budget process, which we're about to start, meaning it would also be presented to the select board, to the FinCom, and then ultimately would be approved as part of the budget before town meeting. And if ultimately approved, it could go into effect, July 1st of next year. But there is a lot of merit to it, and Mark did a nice job outlining this. I will send this memo that he sent to me. I'll send it to all of the committee members so you have it electronically.
Oh, I don't know if you can see me, Janice.
Hey,
Could I say something, please?
Yes.
it's Lisa.
Could I say something, please?
As you can
Yeah.
see,
I don't disagree with Mark at all. In fact, he has brought this up before. The timing was just never, but I think the timing is important right now, especially with him retiring. And also, I am also concerned that Pam does all the water and sewer billing, which is about $5 to $6 million. She has no backup. So if something were to happen to Pam, the town would have a substantial problem. So I'm also recommending a part-time person, also assigned just to water and sewer for just water and sewer billing. I'm just throwing it out there. I know that's a lot of positions we're talking about in a time when, we should be tightening up. But if we somehow lose that revenue or fall behind in billing, that could cause a big problem for the town. Just throwing that out there.
I think that the ideas have merit. I think that they are good ideas, and I think you bring up a good point. Pam, I want you to treat yourself like glass, be very careful, okay? The concern, of course, as we all know, is the impacts of the COVID-19 and how it will impact going into 2021. So the timing is just going to be a little bit of a problematic potentially because of concerns that people have in their own lives right now. But I do think that these are good ideas, and I do think that we should move forward with these conversations because ultimately, as has been pointed out, the town will decide at town meeting. So they are the ultimate deciding factor. But I think that, we need to start moving forward on this, and then hopefully everything will get approved.
Okay, Janice, I agree. This is Robert. And so I think in terms of next steps for the committee, Mark, Lisa, and I will begin to develop the formal job description, proposed job description, pay range and so forth, and we can report back at a future meeting. And you're absolutely right, Janice, it's going to go through the whole budget process, including town meeting and subject to their approval. So I appreciate the support.
Okay. So when I read the next agenda item, that was supposed to be about the FY 2022 water and sewer rates. And we jumped to the water and sewer superintendent. So do we have anything to say about the proposed FY 2022 water and sewer rates initial discussion, or?
Janice, this is Robert. We just wanted to put this on here. I'll turn it over to Mark. As the committee knows, it's somewhat early on the water and sewer, but we wanted to make sure the topic was on here for discussion.
Right, and so we haven't really started looking at that. We are starting to get some better numbers on the impacts of the PFAS treatment, where we did just get a grant for $200,000, plus we have the SRF funding, so we can factor that into the rate model. We also need to look at, what are we doing on the wastewater plant capital program? We've pretty much spent the first phase of the money, and so we need to look and see whether we want to appropriate additional funding in the next capital program to do the next phase, or how much of the next phase we want to do. We do have a next phase all designed and ready to go to bid, and so I can talk with Lisa about that. We can look at some of those capital expenditures, but I think we're other than PFAS and some wastewater plant improvements, we're in pretty good shape from a capital improvement program. So one of the things that we should also consider, and I don't know, we heard for the last 4 years about an infrastructure funding program from the feds. We don't know whether that's going to be something to try to supercharge the economy in the next come January or not. But one of the things you want to do is have shovel-ready projects for when they implement those types of programs. So that may be the type of thing we look at, is having projects that we're actually may not be capital funding, but we have shovel ready for if there is any money available.
And I just add to Mark's comments. Yeah, we have to remember that in years fiscal 22 to 25, part of Mark's capital plan is another $10 million in wastewater treatment improvements. And we have $6.2 million in PFAS for Spec Pond, and another $700,000 to $800,000 because the bids get open. So we're not looking at flat rates at all. We know we're going to have some kind of rate increase. We just don't know what yet. It's way too premature.
And we can look at, like as Lisa said, with the PFAS, we now know what those costs are. Well, I'm getting pretty close. I need to pull a few numbers together. But we can look at different scenarios for the other capital improvements.
All right, sounds good. Anybody have any questions?
No questions.
All right, anybody have any new business?
One thing I did want to mention, which does relate to this, we have a request from Nasoya to increase their water and wastewater use. So I gave them, Robert and I have been going back and forth with them. So there will be some kind of what I call a capacity charge related to that. We gave them a number of options on how they could pay for it, whether it was a rate surcharge or a lump sum. And they haven't gotten back to us on that, but that's, I want to say about $1 million in revenue for both water and sewer, which is a big number. And then then with some of these other developments in town, we increased the connection fees. And so we are going to be generating revenue from the project that's being built on Littleton Road, opposite Shaker Road. Then we also have the Shaker Road, Shaker Mill Pond development, which is about 20 units. So we're getting connection fees, water and sewer from those. And then I got a letter, and we talked about this at the selectmen's meeting when I was looking at capacity. There's a multi-family or multi-unit development proposed in Ayer across from the Apple Works on Ayer Road. And he's requested water and sewer service from Ayer. And I told him, well, the first thing he needs to do is, we need to have a town meeting vote to approve that before we even start negotiating anything. But if that project came to fruition, that would be about another $660,000 in water and sewer revenue. So there are these other revenues that we can factor into the rates.
Are those one-time connection fees?
They are a per unit connection fee. So basically they pay when they take out their building.
But they are one-time.
But they're one time. And then what we would do, and again, we're getting ahead of ourselves because I don't know whether town meeting will approve the Harvard the Harvard extension, but we would have to negotiate an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Harvard. And what we did in Groton's intermunicipal agreement, they have a minimum that they pay. So if they put 1 gallon down, they still pay for, I think it's like 4,000.
5,000.
Yeah. So we do get a minimum payment regardless of how much they use it until they get over that threshold. So it is and we are going to be starting to charge them. I think I have to look at the date, but very soon they have to start paying a connection fee also, and that's on an annual basis.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
I'm just wondering, with these new tie-ups we're talking about, these tie-ins and everything, the water and sewer, are our pipes adequate? And is our plant adequate? I know you're doing a lot of work on the sewer plant, but
Right.
enough for what you took in.
So, and what Rich asked was if our capacity in the pipes and in the plants are adequate. And Rich, I gave an update to the Board of Selectmen at their last meeting on our capacity from a water supply and a wastewater treatment point of view. And I factored in all of these developments that we know about and plus some additional developments. And we do have the capacity, but one of the issues that on wastewater, our plant has a capacity of about 1.8 million gallons a day, and we generally run about 1.3 million gallons a day, 1.4 million gallons a day. But the DEP says once you reach 80% of your capacity, then you have to identify a future source, and that's what triggered our agreement with Devon's. And so we will be renegotiating our agreement with Devon's, and hopefully if we have successful negotiations, we're going to have much better terms. So in short, before I make any commitments, I make sure we have enough water and sewer.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Okay, so the last time we all got together, we all talked about, meeting every 2 months. And that was the original plan. And then that went to the wayside. So I'd like to get us back to, I don't think we need to necessarily meet monthly. I know that for a long time, this committee was set up for quarterly, and that didn't always happen. And I think that, and that's sad. I think we have enough going on that we could at least meet every 2 months. If everyone is in agreement to that plan, then we would be looking at a November date. I do tend to recommend a Tuesday, an off-board meeting Tuesday, because that's when everyone is usually available as far as the employees and everything to get us information, so we can kind of fine-tune the date a little bit. But is everyone acceptable to trying to at least have a meeting every 2 months?
It's fine, but I don't know I don't know if I have enough information for the budget. At that point, we'll have capital.
Yeah, we'll have capital.
But I don't know if we'll have operating budgets in by then.
I honestly have no idea what you just said, Lisa.
So Lisa said that she was not opposed to meeting every other month, just advised that we may not have, obviously, all of the budgetary information and so forth, let's say, for the November meeting, but.
No, and that's true, but at least we would be able to have like a little bit of an update with whatever we have, so that we're even better prepared for any decisions that may come up. It's what we had discussed in February, and we were all agreed to it, and then, just 2020 came. So.
What if folks' thoughts if we met every other month, and what if, for example, it was the second Tuesday of the month at 4 p.m.? So that's an off week for the selectmen. I'm just throwing that way we could plug it into the calendar. So the next meeting would be November 10th, which is a Tuesday at 4. Then, of course, the next meeting from that would be January 12th, if you will. So every other month, second Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
That works for me.
I'm good with that.
I can do that.
Rich, how about you?
Rich, how's that look for you?
I can do that.
Okay. Okay. So that would make our next meeting Tuesday, November 10th at 4 p.m. And then we'll meet every other month, the second Tuesday at 4, and I can send a schedule to everybody.
That sounds good.
That's good.
Okay.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Seconded? Okay. All those in favor? Mark Smith?
Aye.
Mark Wetzel?
Aye.
Richard Scotchlett?
Aye.
Pam Martin?
Aye.
Lisa Gabri?
Aye.
Robert Pombrian?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so.
Get everyone.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.